Seen from space, most of Pakistan appears brown. Mountains, rocky plains, and arid lowlands. Yet through the heart of the country runs a green artery stretching from north to south. That artery is the Indus River. The Indus irrigates fields, fills reservoirs, generates electricity, and sustains the livelihoods of millions. Without this river, it would be nearly impossible for Pakistan to support its present population, agriculture, and cities. But before much of that water reaches Pakistan, it passes through territory controlled by its historic rival, India. For more than 60 years, the two countries managed to share these rivers through a treaty. Wars broke out, borders closed, and armies faced one another. Yet the water kept flowing. Now that system is beginning to fracture. Pakistan says that deliberately stopping water allocated to it could be regarded as an act of war. India, meanwhile, says that it has placed the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. So could the river that keeps one country alive drive two nuclear powers into a new conflict? The Indus rises in the highlands of Tibet. It passes between the immense ranges of the Himalayas and the Karakoram, gathering water from glaciers and melting snow before flowing south through Pakistan to the Arabian Sea. This route is more than the journey of a river. It is also the geographical backbone of Pakistan. This green artery is visible even at night. Satellite images show that many of Pakistan's major settlements and much of its agricultural belt are arranged around the river. It is almost as though the country's lights follow the path of the water. The seasonal movement of the Indus also sets the rhythm of the country. Melting snow and monsoon rains raise the river's discharge in midsummer, while the flow declines noticeably in winter. Farming calendars, reservoir levels, and the volume of water released into canals are planned around this natural cycle. That is because much of Pakistan has an arid or semi-arid climate. Rainfall alone cannot sustain its vast agricultural lands. Yet, along the course of the Indus, the landscape changes. Dry ground gives way to green fields, villages, towns, and densely populated cities. The Indus should not be imagined as merely one broad river channel. The main river joins the Jhelum, the Chenab, and other tributaries. Through dams, barrages, and thousands of kilometers of canals, its water is distributed across an area far wider than the natural riverbed. The result is one of the world's largest continuous surface irrigation systems. At the heart of this enormous network are low diversion structures known as barrages. Unlike large storage dams, they do not merely hold water back. They raise the river level and direct water into the main canals on both banks. Those canals divide into smaller branches, which then feed the waterways running through villages and fields. Large dams such as Tarbela help manage water between seasons, while also contributing to electricity generation. But the size of the system is also the source of its vulnerability. A decision made hundreds of kilometers away can alter how much water reaches the field of a small farmer at the end of a canal. According to NASA observations, the Indus irrigates roughly 18 million hectares of farmland. A network on this scale is far more than an engineering system. It is an economic circulation system, linking crop prices, rural migration, the textile industry, and the country's foreign exchange earnings. Without this system, much of the Punjab Plains, known as Pakistan's breadbasket, and the agricultural lands of Sindh in the south could never have reached their present productive capacity. Behind crops such as wheat, rice, cotton, and sugarcane stand not only farmers, but an immense water machine extending from the mountains to the sea. More than 90% of Pakistan's agricultural production depends on irrigation. The water level of the Indus is therefore not merely a concern for people living beside the river. It can affect the entire country, from food prices and exports to rural employment and everyday life in the cities. The Indus is not simply a river that flows through Pakistan. The Indus is the system that keeps Pakistan running. But this system is not flawless. The same amount of water does not flow through the Indus throughout the year. River levels fall in winter, while in summer, the melting of snow and ice combines with monsoon rains and rapidly increases the flow. For Pakistan, the problem is sometimes too little water. At other times, it is more water than the country can control. During dry periods, farmers at the ends of canals may not receive enough water. Groundwater is used more intensively. Wells are drilled deeper, and problems such as salinity grow worse. A few poor seasons can affect not only the volume of crops, but also farmers' debts, the country's import needs, and its food security. But when extreme rainfall arrives, the same canals, dams, and embankments face an entirely different test. Major floods in the Indus Basin have affected millions of people in the past, submerging villages, roads, and farmland. Within days, the river can change from a long-awaited source of life into one of the country's greatest threats. That is why Pakistan's water paradox is not a simple one. The country needs more water, yet it must also protect itself from the destructive power of excess water. Moreover, mountain snow and glaciers, one of the river's major sources, are making its flow less predictable as the climate changes. Greater melting today may bring more water into the river in the short term. Over the longer term, however, changes in snow and ice reserves may affect the timing and reliability of water available during the dry season. Pakistan therefore needs to know not only how much water will arrive, but when it will arrive. As the river approaches the Arabian Sea in the south, it spreads into a broad delta. When more water is held upstream or diverted to agriculture, less fresh water reaches the sea. Salt water can move inland, placing mangroves, fishing grounds, and coastal communities under pressure. This makes water a political issue even within Pakistan itself. For decades, separate agreements have tried to regulate how water is shared between provinces such as Punjab and Sindh. When supplies decline, regions inside the country also demand a larger share of the same resource. This is the point at which geography becomes politics. When British India was partitioned in 1947 and India and Pakistan were created, the political border divided more than cities and communities. The canals, dams, and rivers of the Indus Basin were also split between the two countries. Some of the river sources and upstream control points lay on the Indian side. Vast, irrigation-dependent agricultural lands, meanwhile, were located in the newly created Pakistan. This produced a dangerous equation. The upstream country controlled the geography through which the water flowed, while the downstream country controlled an agricultural system dependent on that water. After years of negotiations, the Indus Waters Treaty was signed in 1960 with the support of the World Bank. The system was broadly divided in two. Use of the eastern rivers, the Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej, was allocated to India. Most of the waters of the western rivers, the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, were allocated to Pakistan. India was permitted certain agricultural uses and rule-bound hydroelectric projects on the western rivers. The treaty was not perfect. The two countries repeatedly disputed the design of several hydroelectric projects built by India in the upper basin. Even so, the system worked. Commissions met, technical information was exchanged, and expert and arbitration mechanisms were established to resolve disputes. More importantly, the treaty survived wars and severe political crises between the two countries. Its success did not depend on India and Pakistan being friends. On the contrary, they needed detailed rules precisely because they did not trust each other. Pages of provisions regulated how much water a project could store, when data had to be shared, and which stages a technical dispute would pass through. For that reason, the treaty was often less a symbol of peace than a mechanism of controlled distrust. It did not require the parties to act out of goodwill. It required them to follow the rules. The fact that the Indus kept flowing became one of South Asia's most remarkable diplomatic achievements, until 2025. In April 2025, a deadly attack targeted civilians in Indian-administered Kashmir. India blamed groups linked to Pakistan. Pakistan rejected the accusation. Tensions between the two countries then rose rapidly. India announced that it would hold the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. According to New Delhi, the old arrangement could not continue until Pakistan permanently and credibly ended its support for cross-border terrorism. Pakistan argued that the treaty contained no provision allowing unilateral suspension and maintained that the agreement remained valid and binding. This was not a simple diplomatic protest. The treaty did more than determine which country was entitled to which water. It also created a safety net for sharing river flow data, notifying the other side of new projects, and resolving disputes through technical procedures. As that safety net weakens, the risk that each side will misread the other's intentions increases. Maintenance work at a dam may be perceived in Pakistan as a deliberate interruption of water. A sudden release during the monsoon may create fears of disaster downstream. A new hydroelectric project may be seen by India as an energy investment, but by Pakistan as infrastructure that could one day be used to exert pressure through water. Yet the water itself remains the same. But once trust disappears, every gate, every reservoir, and every missing piece of data becomes a strategic message. An important distinction must be made here. India cannot stop all the water in the Indus system today simply by pressing a button. The western rivers carry an enormous volume of water. India's existing storage and diversion capacity is not sufficient to retain the entire flow for a prolonged period. The rivers continue to follow the natural slope of the land towards Pakistan. The claim that India will cut off all of Pakistan's water tomorrow is therefore unrealistic. But that does not make the suspension of the treaty insignificant. In the short term, the end of data sharing could make flood and drought planning more difficult. The way dams are operated, the timing of water releases, and sediment flushing operations may affect downstream areas, particularly during periods of low flow. In the longer term, if India builds more storage, hydroelectric, and diversion infrastructure, it could gain greater influence over the timing of the water rather than its total quantity. This is precisely what Pakistan fears. Not that the river will dry up completely, but that its life-giving flow will become increasingly unpredictable and dependent on political decisions. Pakistan's government has warned that deliberately obstructing water required for the country's survival and development would have extremely serious consequences. Senior officials have said that such an act could be treated as an act of war. Those words cannot be dismissed lightly. India and Pakistan have fought wars, experienced border clashes, and possess nuclear weapons. The water dispute cannot be separated from Kashmir, accusations of terrorism, military rivalry, and mutual distrust. Yet it would also be wrong to say that a water war is inevitable. Both countries have much to lose from a full-scale conflict. The fact that the Indus Waters Treaty survived for more than 60 years also shows that even bitter rivals can cooperate over vital resources. The greatest danger is not that one side is planning a war, but that communication and shared rules are disappearing. A declining flow during a drought, a dam operation carried out without prior notice, a piece of data interpreted incorrectly, and two countries already on edge treating a technical water problem as a deliberate attack. Major conflicts sometimes begin not with grand plans, but with small miscalculations. For thousands of years, the Indus has created life across this landscape. It carries water from the mountains to the edge of the deserts. It turns fields green, supplies cities, and sustains Pakistan's economic system. But rivers do not recognize political borders. The water of the Indus must pass through the mountains, valleys, and disputed territories of two rival countries. India and Pakistan therefore share not only a border, but the same water system. One country may lie upstream and the other downstream, but a future drought, flood, or climate shock will affect them both. Today, the Indus is the artery that keeps Pakistan alive. If the rules protecting it collapse, however, that same artery could become South Asia's most dangerous fault line. The real question is not whether Pakistan can live without this river. We already know the answer. The real question is this: can India and Pakistan continue to share the water that both countries need? Or will the river that gives life to one country once again bring two countries to the brink of war?